Good evening, everyone.
Good night.
Hello.
Good evening.
Good
Good evening.
evening. How are you all today?
Excited. Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
How are you all this evening?
Excited. Excited. This topic looks exciting.
Yes, it does. It really, really, really does. And how was your week?
Somebody is moving there. The week was very swift. It was Friday and then it was Friday.
I could totally
So
understand that.
it was a blur.
I
But it
could.
was interesting though.
Okay. Um, Patricia, are you there? How was your week?
Hello. Yes, I'm here.
How
It
was your
wasn't
week?
very it wasn't very eventful. It was normal.
Okay.
Yeah. The normal issues that you had to deal with, you just had to deal with them. They came up. It was not eventful.
Okay. And what did you all practice this week? What did you get the opportunity to practice? Were you able to identify the opportunity or did it pass you by?
ah, practicing acceptance,
Okay.
learning to look, practicing to just accept what is and giving up what you hope it would be, what you think it could have been, what you think somebody promised you or didn't promise you, or just trying to focus on what is in front of you. It is what it is,
Hmm.
and by doing that, I sort of look to see what else. It is what it is. So how to live with whatever is, as opposed to where I was. I don't have it 100%, but at least that is my goal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Lisa, are you there? Okay. I'm not sure if Lisa.
I would say I
Hmm.
was trying to focus on self, you know, this issue of putting yourself first and not kind of have be worrying about everybody all around you, but
Yeah.
you try to be you and to look at you and deal with you. Because as we learn, even when you're dealing with you, you're kind of dealing with everybody else because everybody all around you and everybody passing through you in any case.
Yes. That is most definitely true. And that is also what today's topic is because it is about negativity and the positive self. So that is a factor of it because when you grow up, you tend to, what you do is put everybody before yourself. And you always tend to look out to ensure that everybody else is okay. And I know it is something that really was not taught, it was not known, it wasn't practiced. So you find that, well, a lot of things would be fitment. For a lot of it, you have to really unlearn a lot of what you previously knew. That is the thing with befitment. It is a lot of unlearning, and it is also about really putting the things into practice. Because trust me, I know it is a lot because it is every week. So it is like a weekly class on top of class on top of class. But you really have to practice it, because if you don't practice, everything remains the same. Really and truly, if you don't practice it, nothing would change. Nothing would change. And what would happen is that life would always present the opportunities for you to practice once the wisdom is there. So you know you're in a class in school, you're in a class, and at the end of the term there is an exam. Life would always present the exam for you to practice. But if you don't practice it, you would find that you're experiencing the same situation, same thing, same people over and over and over again. But it is just the opportunity to practice what you have been learning. That is all that it is. Sometimes you're in a spot for so long, you don't even realize that you're in a space. And then sometimes you look out at others and you say, you know, how this person progressing, and how this person is just about practice, you know. It's just about putting the things into practice. It is simply that is all that it is. Because there is no age, there is no moment, there is no time where you are too old to learn something new or practice something new. It doesn't exist. It probably exists in your mind because you, it probably exists in your mind because you are choosing to stay where you are, but it really doesn't exist elsewhere, you know, because life is continuing by. We are now at week, I think, let me tell you, I know every week I say this there, but it is just to show you how quickly things are moving along. We are now at week 47. We are now at week 47. Can you imagine that? In 5 weeks, we would be in a new year. In 5 weeks. And that is why I asked the question initially, what have you been practicing? 47 weeks has passed. What have you been practicing? So, even as we look at tonight's topic, which is negativity and the positive self, when you hear the word negativity, what comes to mind?
Something you'd prefer not to deal with. Although I know that that is not it. Something, but that is what comes to mind. The the way it was taught in the past, it was given a life of its own, almost like negativity, negativity, negativity. But when I look at it a little closer, is really this is the way you look at it. I mean, it exists, but if you dwell on it, on what you consider to be negativity, then there it is. You will have a lot of that. So the 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 choosing to accept the wisdom of what it is, then makes it a little easier for me.
Okay. Anyone else?
I would say something that doesn't add anything positive
Mm-hmm.
to your life.
Mm-hmm.
It's, although a negative thing could teach you a lesson, as we
Yes.
discussed already. You know, and negative stuff, something you hear that is negative, could teach you a lesson. You could learn something. But I just feel that negativity means something that is not positive towards your life, that to add a positive end to your life. I think that's what I think.
Yes. Now, negativity, while we tend to look at it from, of course, a negative perspective, it is actually there for a very significant purpose, because all of the things that we have experienced and we deem to be negative, we tend to learn the most lessons out of those situations or circumstances. It is just that we would rather not deal with it. But if you were not in those situations, circumstances, or you did not have that experience, then where would the lessons come from? Because we always tend to look at and which lessons are the more impactful? The lessons that come from, if you get a small, nice little positive lesson, even though a lesson is a lesson at the end of the day, as compared to the impact of something that was negative or what you deem to be negative and you learn from it, what carries the more impact?
It would have to be the one where you had to dig deep down to get past it and to learn something. So that would have to be the negative, what I would consider negative. Because when I had my experience, a particular one about 2 or 3 or 4 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
it was hard. It was really, really hard. I really felt as though the entire universe didn't see me. I was abandoned. But when I calmed down, about 2 years later, it was that bad. I got to look at myself and to see where I had put myself in that situation and had created that situation because of where I had put myself and how I was seeing myself less than someone else. And so coming out of that, I had to learn the information that, listen, this is what you created and this is why it turned out like that. It was never about what you thought it was going to be about, but the universe had to show you that, listen, you're not where you put yourself. You're a little more than that. So this is going to show you, don't continue this pattern. And coming out of that, I started to look at how I make decisions about my personal life and where I place people in terms of elevating people or, more to the point, demoting me. So, and I came away with that understanding. And so going forward is something I promised myself, well, that was the end of that. Yeah, you will not repeat that to create that situation again. So it has to be for me, it was the shock. And I consider that quite negative. Only when you calm down, then it's okay. So that
Mm-hmm.
was that for me.
Yeah. Because that is usually where the most impactful lessons came from. It's just a lot of times we see it in while you're in the experience, you tend to think, this is the worst thing that ever happened, and all the extra stuff. But rightfully, as you said, when you calm down and you really look at it, or even what I tend to do is I would remove myself out of the situation and look at it generally. And then you realize that within it, it has so much lessons to be learned there. And even especially for me, as with experiences and even what we deem as, I would always say, deem to be negative situations, because for me that is where the most set of lessons come. You realize that the situation that you're currently in preparing you for another situation to come where you would be better able to manage it. So sometimes you run from the quote unquote negative situation, and then you find it keep repeating itself. And it is because you never dealt with it in the first place. And then having dealt with it in the first place, you realize, this really wasn't so bad after all. And then you're better equipped to make more sound decisions, to make better choices. But if you keep running from it, you would recognize that this keeps happening over and over. And then you find yourself in a loop. And you know, the psychological aspect of finding yourself in a loop is that sometimes you tend to stay there unless you could really get yourself out of the situation and make a different choice. But really, sometimes what we deem to be negative was really there to teach us the biggest lessons. And Anastasia, are you there?
Yes, I am. Good night.
Good evening. When you hear the term negative, what comes to mind for you?
Negative. Something that working against you and not for you.
Okay, okay. And Mr.
Or
SJ,
may appear,
yes, may
may
appear.
appear to be working against you, and at the end, and the long run, it could be very much was for you, for your growth
It
and
always
your expansion.
It always,
Mhm.
always, always is. And Mr. SGL, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Good evening.
Good evening. When you hear the word negative, what usually comes to mind?
A perception. Recently, I heard that we add value to experiences. So if you go to an experience and the added value is negative or positive or however you frame it,
Mm-hmm.
it's a reflection of where you are at and from what lens you're looking at it or you experiencing it from. Now, obviously, certain things can seem adverse. I love the phrasing who was talking before, perception, right? Sometimes our perception, depending on where we are at in life or situation, may give us a different view of looking at things. And 2 years down the line, you could be going to the same thing again and you smile as opposed to crying because you're like, oh my gosh, I made a big deal out of this. It was nothing. Everything is going to be fine. Everything is well. And you continue on your journey. So, that's what I'm learning. I don't know if I'm fully there. At least I'm conscious enough to be mindful that what I bring to the experience is a reflection of where I am on that day.
Yes, 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 yes. Most definitely. And um we have another space where in terms of when some persons experience negativity, what they do is that we tend to go down the road of self focused positivity. So you go into the self protection, doing what is best for me, you know? But having experienced the self protection and doing what is best for me, and I mean doing what is best for you, not as the whole, but doing what is best for you as the individual, what kind of impacts or have you experienced that and what kind of impact did it have within your life?
Adana, I was just going to click my raise hand button to talk about that very same thing with me. Because while I recognize that the experience was for me to see something, I am ever so mindful that I went forward, yes, with the the knowledge of what I was doing, but I also recognize that I carried something forward, which is that same self protection
Mm-hmm.
that you just raised. And it was, to me, it's almost like moving from one jail to another jail.
Yeah.
because you you almost paralyze yourself at that point with the self-protection bit.
Mm-hmm.
Because the while I recognized there was a lesson to learn, how you had been treating, how you had seen yourself and put yourself out there as less than, then it became now almost like a suspicious kind of movement forward, looking at every situation that looked similar or had the potential to be something, what you call positive. There's a lot of suspicion behind now. So it's almost as though you're still not moving forward. You're not going to really get to what you would like to get to because of this. You're looking at things 4 times over, 5 times over, and you're remembering what happened in this. You're not remembering the lesson, huh? You're remembering at the time when you realize you learn a lesson, something, but when something is coming up again, you're remembering the what happened, and you're putting on your detective eye and your what is the name of that thing? Your
Magnifying
microscopic
glass.
lens.
The magnifying.
Yes, yes, the magnifying glass to see if you're seeing anything that looks similar as to what happened. Not the lesson that you learned, but what happened. So for me, sometimes it's really a struggle to, and in the years in between, although I know there was a lesson recently, and we started to talk about what are we going to try new, what are we going to try differently. For me, it is trying to work past that what had happened and not look for it again in new what different situations. Don't to strip away the suspicion
Mm-hmm.
of persons, of individuals. And because it got so bad, you're looking at a magazine and you will see somebody, Anastasia girl, you will see a nice fella and you will shake your head. And what would normally be something, oh, that person looks nice. There's always the but. So I am working on that but because that but is a problem. So it's like still being in that space where even I know the lesson, there's some more work that has to be done with the what is. I started by saying I'm practicing what is, deal with what is, accept what is. And it's like going too far to the other extreme.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
See? So
Yes.
that is where I am working right now.
Okay.
To get back into, because the two ends are the same problem.
Would anyone else like to share where you had a situation or a circumstance and you went towards the self protection and I am doing what is best for me? I tried this already, it didn't work. Nobody else don't come, don't ask me nothing again. I cannot help anybody else. If anybody as much as look at me and bat an eye, you know
Self
what?
protection.
Mm-hmm.
Self protection is you're not living in the moment. You'll never enjoy the moment
Yes.
if you're in self protection mode. It rooted in fear as well.
Mhm.
And once you're operating in fear, that is it. You're paralyzing yourself and it makes no sense. It's better you just leave whatever it is alone and don't even get into it.
Yes. It is rooted in fear, and what it then does is that for the individual in the situation, in the circumstance, in the experience, They have now created an attachment to that experience and they keep carrying that experience forward. So anything that looks remotely similar to it, they tend to tense up, they tend to freeze, not realizing that you're no longer there. But if you keep bringing it forward, and remember when we had the discussion in terms of every morning that you get up, you have a new lot of land. And every morning that you get up, you are choosing to bring the garbage from 1996, the garbage from 2 weeks ago, the garbage from whatever happened on work, the garbage from the person who you met in the grocery and they got you angry, and you are placing that upon your clean lot of land every day. And that is why at the start of the sessions, I asked the question, what have you been practicing? Do you understand the importance of what you are practicing and how it is impacting your day to day life? Do you understand what happens when you form these attachments and how they move along with you sometimes for years because of one situation, because of one person, because of one circumstance, when in reality, that is simply the person that the universe used to teach you a lesson. That is all. And then sometimes you keep this person in mind for months, for weeks, months, years. And you never rest the person down. And as you know, I usually say that person somewhere in Dubai having a ball. But then you keeping the person in mind because you form an attachment based off of a situation. And in that situation, it was merely for you to learn a lesson. It was merely for you to learn a lesson in the situation. And I know because of the impact of certain lessons, you would tend to form attachments based off of it because it affected you deeply. But at the end of the day, remember, a lesson is a lesson. And the person who was used to for you to understand the lesson in that moment, it is simply that is just what it is. But we tend to take it further, and because of the patterns that we have created, you fall back into a pattern. And even as Katrin was explaining, so that every person now you're watching them kind of side eye, you're watching them, you're overthinking what is your next step. And in doing so, you're just packing things onto yourself and creating a lot of burdens within your life, within your daily moments, because you keep. And then the thing is, just as Katrin explained also, when you have to make another decision, you go back to the last experience, and in that last experience, you stir up all the feelings, you stir up all the emotions. So it is as though you're back in the situation again. When the situation was there, the lesson was learned, but for some of us, we intentionally want to feel that way. Think about it. You intentionally want to put yourself back in that space. Because if you really wanted to move on from the situation and if you wanted to release, you would have done it. So when you put yourself back in a situation, you stir up the energy. You connect to the emotion that related to the energy. And then what do? You attract similar situations, circumstances, and people moving forward. Because of this one experience that you form an attachment on. And I know for a lot of us, we don't even understand the magnitude of these attachments that we are forming when you were just supposed to learn the lesson and sit, and you don't have to answer, just think about how many persons, places, even animals, things that you are still carrying with you because of an attachment that you formed. And you are yet to release all these things. And every day it is weighing more and more and more and more on you. And let me ask you another question. Thinking about this, reliving the moment, reliving the situation, stirring back up all the feelings. How is it serving you in this present moment. So if it is not serving you in this present moment, why do you keep going back to that default when that is not what is best for you in this moment? So instead of creating what you would like to see, you are consistently creating situations and circumstances that you do not want because of one situation that was just supposed to be a lesson learned in the moment. Do you understand? I know everybody is very quiet right now, but are you all there? Do you understand? Remember,
I
lesson.
think there's a conviction with the question, why do we go back to it? I mean, at least for me, I can reflect. For me, I think there's a sense of, yeah, why do I do it? And sometimes it's the comfort. It's sitting with the discomfort because at least the discomfort, that particular discomfort is known. You
Mhm.
don't want it, but you're familiar with it. And again, we talked several times about ego, right? This fear that drives some of those decisions. So at least for me, I know that I definitely can do better, but I don't because again, the ego or the fear of the unknown. So I think that's why at least I was staying quiet at first because I am convicted of by the question.
Let me give you all another, just an example. So over the weekend, had a conversation with someone, and let me tell you how connected everything is. And it was a aha moment for me. Had a conversation with someone who they were expressing a situation where in in relating to another individual, the other individual did something that they did not like. Right? So I listened and say, okay. And of course, for me, at the end of the conversation, of course, I forgot everything about the conversation because I don't tend to. We have a conversation and that's the end of it. And then yesterday, while I was downstairs, the thought came, the same thing that that person is complaining about, that they did not like in terms of what was done to them, they do it all the time to other people. And you would tend to see things a lot clearer when you are not in the situation. And then for a lot of us, we behave particular ways, and we just do it. And it is only when it is returned then we realize the impact of it. Because remember, for some of us, and sometimes you're doing it unwillingly, and you don't even understand the extent. And it also reminded me of a situation years ago of a conversation I had with a friend. And she would always complain about other people's kids. Always complain, and you don't like this, and you don't like that, and you don't, and you don't. And then when you looked at it, you recognize that her kids always always some problem in school, something, something, something. And then one day I had to tell her, so the same things that you don't like about other people's children is what happening to yours, right? And for a lot of us, you don't understand the impact and the reach of how far the thoughts we are having are impacting is not just us, it's impacting others. It's impacting your life because she always had to stop. You have to go to the school, it's always an issue. There is always something happening with a neighbor. There is always something. And I know Befitment says the same thing over and over and over again, but I want you all to understand the impact because it is a massive impact, and a lot of times you're not connecting the dots in the moment. And you don't understand the extent to which you are truly creating the world that you are experiencing, unaware and unknowingly. You see the problems, you see life would send challenges. Yes, you overcome the challenges and you continue moving and they never come back. But you see the recurring problems that you have in your life, look at yourself and ask yourself the question, what am I doing? And I know this is going to take a lot of, it is going to take a lot of truth within yourself to really sit with yourself and ask yourself the question, how am I creating this? Because you are unaware, but you are creating it. Because it is only when the thought came and I said, you know, that is true. The same thing that the person did not like that was being done to them is the same thing that they do. And now, when you're on the receiving end of it, you're recognizing the impact, not realizing how your patterns creating the world, creating the experiences, creating the situations that you are not enjoying, and yet you continue to practice it. And it is just, and you would recognize that now it is not getting easier, it is getting more difficult. It is not getting easier. The things that used to work, the reactions that you would usually have, it is not getting easier. Things are getting more difficult, and it is only getting more difficult to move you in a different space. And yet you continue to make the same choice. You continue to follow the same patterns. You continue to complain, and you will continue to attract the same situations. And what will happen is that they are just getting magnified, and whereas it is probably times five, now it's time 15. And then you're sitting there confused and you're wondering why this keeps happening to me. And that is why it keeps happening to you, because you are not practicing something new. And you don't understand the impact of sometimes some of the thoughts that you have. You think this is just a simple thought, this is not connected to anything. This is just a simple sentence. You utter the words, this is not connected to anything. And then you just continue, not realizing that this connected to something 3 months down the road. And now you're dealing with the impact of it. And that is how connected things are. And that is how we tend to create these worlds that we do not like. And who is at the root of all of it? We are at the root of all of it. Who is usually blamed for it? Other people are usually blamed for it. Who is responsible for your world? Other people responsible for your world, or you responsible for your world? You are responsible for your world. Take a few seconds and accept the fact. Just listen, say it. I am responsible for my world. I am responsible for my world. Whatever is happening in my world, I am responsible for it. If you would like to have a different experience, create it for yourself. If you would like to have a different experience, create it for yourself. If you do not like what you're experiencing, practice something different. You are practicing the same thing and you are expecting a different result, and you are frustrating yourself and you are also frustrating other people, because there is everything through you. What are you practicing? Sit and ask yourself this question seriously. What have I been practicing? You would know what you have been practicing based on the environment you are currently a part of. Yes, Catherine, I know that you have your hand raised for a little while.
I was going to say that I remember my mother always used to be saying, the things you criticize on the road and you don't like to see are the things that you will find in your own house. And I thought I had a good understanding of that until I started to do the work with befitment and listening to the conversations and attending the classes and whatnot. And while she may not have had the capacity to unfold what she was saying, she would say that. And when I looked around, I said it's exactly true because literally what you're criticizing is where you're putting your energy. She didn't have that explanation to give and all of that. She would just say, the things you don't like on the road, you're going to find them in your own house. And over the years, I could actually see in relatives, in my own life, in different situations where the things you really criticize are what you end up having to deal with because you didn't know that that was where you were putting your energy to create. And so there's there's truth in the little old people sayings, even if they could not unfold it and explain it the way befitment is able to unfold it and explain it. But it really is true. And so in the last 2 weeks, and particularly in the last week here, where I had to look at certain things and to see what is really important, what will kill me and what will not kill me, and to examine why some things are difficult for me to accept, and having to almost like swallow. I know we're probably dealing with the ego here, but just swallow and say, well, okay, deal with what is, as opposed to what you think should be or what. And so that has been a kind of rough spot for me. I'm determined to apply and practice,
Yes.
but that is because you have to get past and I think we talked about it in one of the week classes. What is fear? What you consider fear, and what is not fear to you? The way you look at situations. So you just deal with it. Just have to deal with it, and however you choose to deal with it, then don't second guess yourself, and don't sit down and. I don't think there's self protection. I think this is just deal with what is. And when you make a decision, just live in that decision
Hmm.
and don't go back to it. And
And
it takes practice too.
in addition to that, I know for some of us, we tend to go along the guilt road. Why I didn't learn this before? Why? Remember, every day, every opportunity, every moment, you are starting from now because only now exists. Every day, every moment, every opportunity, you are starting from now because only now exists. When you made that decision 10 years ago that you are still bringing forward with you in 2025, remember 10 years ago, the wisdom you had, now you did not have it then. The decisions you made, they will have been made under different circumstances. Okay? Again, guys, it is very important to accept the lessons and release the attachments in order to move forward. I will repeat it. It is very important to accept the lessons and release the attachments before moving forward. Because if you are trying to create with the feelings of the situations from last year and the attachments of the situations from 10 years ago, what you are creating for yourself moving forward is confusion. What you are creating for yourself moving forward is confusion. And it is very important. And we say spend time with yourself. What does that mean? Spend time with yourself. You get up in the morning, you just clear your mind, take a few deep breaths, clear your mind. And even now, we are practicing, the breath work during the week in terms of the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You get up in the morning, just clear your mind. And in clearing your mind, then you ask the question, self, what is required for me today? What is required for me today? When it comes, well, that is not what I do yesterday. Why do you keep continually putting yourself into yesterday's pattern? Yesterday has gone. Yesterday has served its purpose. Yesterday has now moved on. Why are you still in yesterday? How does living in yesterday help you in this present moment? How does bringing up the feelings of yesterday help you in this present moment? How does bringing up the feelings of yesterday move you towards the goals that you would like to achieve? How does it work? Would anyone like to explain to me how it works? I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. I would love to examine it with you. And knowing this, why do you keep bringing yesterday into now? Think about it. That is the question to ask yourself. Whatever you are faced with during this week, before you go back into the default, ask yourself the question, why am I bringing yesterday into now? And that is what Befitment is trying to get you to practice. Open yourself up to receive what is required for you in this moment. Because, just as Catherine was explaining, if because of one situation you decide, I am doing what is best for me, what happens is that you unintentionally, you're creating a lot of tension, you're creating a lot of distance between you and literally everything. And then you are creating a lot of discomfort in your relationships as well. So it's like, just as Catherine said, you move from one jail to another jail because essentially what you're doing is blocking yourself off of everything instead of moving forward with wisdom. Okay, John, you hire John to do a job, he didn't do a good job. So now you're watching Jack, Jill, Goldilocks, everybody you're watching side eye. That was just a situation for you to learn that before moving forward in the future, let me ask myself a question and see what comes. But you cannot base everything off of the experience you had with John. You are bringing the attachment forward. Bringing the attachment forward and looking at Jack cross-eye when Jack was the perfect person to assist you with whatever you required. But you would never know because you blocked the opportunity. Because you brought yesterday into now based off of one situation where you were just supposed to learn the lesson and move forward. So you see that the being positive for ourselves could really create a cloud of negativity for us first and then also for others, because just as was said before, you are blocking yourself off from everything instead of moving forward with wisdom. You cannot say, I don't know what to do, you know what to do. You have the tools. You are not referring to the tools, the toolbox right there. You might trip over it sometimes, still not open it and use the tools, but it is right there. You have what is required to use and utilize in each moment to help you. And Eve, and listen, utilizing the tools, it is not, we like to look at things as good and bad. It is not always going to yield good results. Why is that? Because challenges to come, they must come. Whatever you are faced with in the moment, the challenges must come. And just as Mr. SGL explained, when they come because of what you experienced before, you are better equipped to deal with them now in this situation. So even when the challenge come, you could do You see, that is why I didn't want to do this in the first place, and this has always happened to me, and this is why I don't like to do this, and that is why they would continue to come until you learn the lesson that was meant for you to learn. Guys, I know we expect life to be a smooth, effortless, sprinkles and cupcakes and ice cream, but this is not what it is. The challenges will come, and it is only to move you forward. And what we deem as negativity, recognizing how negative is it when you are learning lessons from it? How else would you have learned the lesson? How else would life be able to move you forward? But do not get caught up and attach yourself to the people, place, animals, or things that you thought were negative throughout your journey thus far. Remember, do not attach yourself to the persons, places, animals, and things that you thought. Remember, this is your perception, that was also discussed previously. When these persons, places, animals, and things were just used to teach you a lesson that was needed to move you forward in that moment. If you form an attachment based off of it, that is based on your perception. And then who have to deal with the consequences of the attachment? Who have to deal with the results of the attachment? Are you not dealing with the results of the attachment? How is that going for you? You are dealing with the results of the feelings that you keep stirring up. You are dealing with the results of the attachments that you have formed. And yet you are practicing the same thing. Do you understand how connected everything is? Do you understand how much you are cutting yourself off from everything? Do you understand why you still feel stuck? Do you understand why you think that you're in the same place for the past 5 to 10 years? Do you understand now the impact of these things? And guys, I'm telling you, sometimes you're in a pattern so deep you can't even identify what is happening and what is going on. And do you understand that you are responsible for your world? You are at the center of your world. You are creating the world that you are currently experiencing. You are uncomfortable because life is trying to move you forward. You are trying to remain the same. But you really have to practice something new and understand that sometimes you're thinking that it is just me and it is not. Remember, you are soul, mind, body, connected to everything. You are connected to everything. The thought that keeps coming and you're pushing away, make a step in that direction. And you keep pushing it away. And then what happens? The opportunity gone. Because life is going to continue to move whether you want to move or not. We are at week 47 of 2025. What have you been practicing? You know, everybody want to feel anxiety on the December 31st. And you know, I said this year I was going to, you know, I said since 2024, I was going to. I am going to start to eat healthy. I am going to start to exercise. I'm going to start to clean. And then what have you been practicing? Practice something new. When the opportunity comes, do not run from it. Practice something new. The opportunity keeps coming so that you can practice something new. Come out of the pattern. Before you just return to your default, ask, stop, take a breath, ask a question. Remember, before you return to the default, you cannot make up your mind about how a situation, the outcome of a situation going to be. You can't. You really can't. Sometimes before you even try it and make up your mind, this is what the outcome is going to be. In doing so, you're cutting yourself off. Open yourself up to receive different things, to receive new things. Open yourself up to practice the wisdom. But if you block yourself off, you will continue to experience the same things. And even, sometimes you're around different people, and even if they are still going to the north, I won't say left and right because, we tend to use left and right as right and wrong. They are going to the north and you would like to go to the south, it is okay. You just simply practice something new. It is okay. It is okay. And remember, guys, what you practice is tied to the life that you would like to enjoy. Whatever you practice is tied to the life that you would like to enjoy. Remember, when you're practicing it and you know you're supposed to be practicing something different, remember that. What results is this going to yield? What results? If you have been practicing it and it is not yielding the results that you would like, practice something new. If there was $1 million attached to you practicing something new, you would have been practicing since 2020. If it was attached to $10 million, you would have been so precise with it. And it is the same precision that is required for you to create the world that you would like to enjoy. Guys, life belongs to you. Anastasia's life does not belong to Lystra. So what Anastasia chooses to practice, Anastasia would get the results of it. Lystra's life does not belong to Patricia. Whatever Patricia practice, Lystra does not have to deal with the results of it. And Lisa's life does not reflect what is happening in SGL's life. And vice versa. Whatever you would like to experience, practice that moving forward. Whatever is reoccurring that you do not like to experience, know that you are at the center of it. Practice something new in order to experience something different. So think about what you would be practicing this week. It is not about practicing this week and you want to run a 5K weekend. No. It is the small steps, the small little steps. You know you just get angry quickly. You know you just tend to fly off the handle. Practice some deep breaths so that you can gain clarity before flying off the handle. If you know that you need to drink more water, practice it. You know that you need to eat healthier, practice it right now. For the ones that are in Trinidad, Befitment has 10% off your meal at Greenbow. You could feel free to go and check them out. All you have to do is show them your dashboard in the app and you are free to get 10% off your meal if you want to practice eating healthier meals. Guys, the things that you want and the life that you would like to experience, if you look around the space that you are in, some of the solutions are right in front of you and you are choosing to ignore them because of a previously held pattern. If you take the time to just look around yourself, you take the time to clear your mind, you take the time to ask a question before you proceed, you would get all the answers to everything that you require. But if you remain in your current pattern, holding to what you previously knew, you would stay right where you are, just as you are. And everybody else is moving forward. So, again, life belongs to you. But even though life belongs to you, you have to find your fit. That is why Befitment is here to help you find your fit. What is your fit? Catherine might like to work out in the morning, and Dana might like to work out at night. What is your fit? How do things work for you, with you? SGL might like to eat more vegetables. Patricia might like to drink more smoothies. What is your fit? Find out what is your fit, what is required for me today. When the lessons come, if you try to block them off, remember in blocking off the lessons, you are also severing your connection to everything else. So you know that, but Catherine got your vex one time, she calling you and you're watching your phone ring like this. Not realizing that Catherine was calling because of a question you have been asking for 2 months, she found the solution for. So if you want to continue self, the being positive for yourself, what you're really doing is, and the doing what's best for me, the quotes, the sentences, you are essentially blocking yourself off. You are connected to everything, even if you are unaware. We have all had situations where you really wanted something and somebody show up with it. You really wanted something, you had a phone call and you got the answer. And that is just to show you how connected you are. But if you think that you are alone in the world, that is what you would experience. So, guys, really, really look at practicing something new. Practicing something new. Create the world that you want. If you are experiencing something over and over, we are not talking about the challenges, we're talking about the problems. The problems are the ones that we create, that we experience over and over and over again. That means you are at the center of it. Sit with it. I know it is difficult to face, and just as Nicola also explains, it is uncomfortable. But sit through the uncomfortable feeling and come out on the other side. Even if you might be feeling shame, you did what you thought was best in that moment. And why are you feeling shame if it was there to teach you what you needed to know to move forward? We are all having similar experiences. There is no need to feel shame. We are all having similar experiences. Do not put yourself through the guilt. A lesson is a lesson is a lesson. You learn from it, you move on with it, you leave the feelings where they are, you leave the attachment, and you move yourself forward. Does anyone have any questions before I let you all know what the schedule is for this week? I hope that you all really, really, really understand the impact of what was said and how everything really connected and how you're really, really keeping back yourself. You're really, really keeping back yourself. No questions? All right. So, of course, you all know that the entire week. Yes, Patricia, I've seen that your mic is on. Okay, I don't know if it was intentional or not. All right, and Katrin said this was really an eye-opening, soul-searching. Yeah, because we really don't understand the impact of a simple thought, of a simple sentence, and how it is connected to everything. It really, really is connected to everything. So let me let you all know. And of course, guys, whereas these sessions start on a Monday, they continue throughout the week. And again, everything is connected. So let me show you the connections for this week. All right. Just a minute. So tonight we discussed negativity and the positive self. Tomorrow we have our B Squad Youth program where we are in the school. So these similar discussions we have with the kids, different forms. And that is from 10 a.m. And then from 6 p.m. we would be discussing the mental frame bias, where we would be diving deeper into people, things, beliefs, biases, and the emotional patterns. Remember, sometimes we are creating patterns that we are unaware of and we are not enjoying. So, if it is something that you are interested in, please feel free to reach out to us for more information about signing up and logging in. On Wednesday from 10 again, we have our B Squad Youth program. Then from 6, we will be looking at the critic and the coach part 2, which we started with last Wednesday. So this Wednesday we will be continuing. And we would be looking at reducing inner conflict and increase outer harmony. We know some of us are having a lot of inner conflict. So we would be looking at that. Then on Thursday from 10 a.m., we have the B Squad Youth program again. And from 6, we would be looking at harmonizing with others in real world. We're applying, reframing, and non-standard communication will be discussed. And of course, from 7, we have our Be Fit Fuel and Flexible Body Workout session. On Friday from 10, we have counseling and consultations. Then from 3, we have Free to Be, where we celebrate, relax, restore, and unwind by appointments only. If you are interested, feel free to reach out. On Saturday, we have counseling and consultations, and then from 3 p.m., we are closed. If this is something that you think you know someone who would benefit from these sessions, please feel free to just reach out to them, let them know about it, and they can join because we can all benefit from sessions such as these. And when you wake up in the morning, ask yourself the question: Self, what is required for you today before jumping on the wheel like a hamster? You know your regular degular pattern. Just remember that before you proceed forward. Because in doing so, you are cementing the practicing of something that you do not want to experience. It is time to stop practicing the things that you do not want to experience. You have been experiencing them long enough. They are so uncomfortable, they are now your friends. So you have find comfort in the discomfort when it is really not supposed to be like that. You are bending yourself backward to find comfort in the discomfort to make yourself comfortable instead of practicing something new. When you look at someone else, you could tell them, you should really practice A, B, C, D, E, F, G, but you could also practice A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So, guys, please think about it. Think about it. Think about what you have been practicing and what you have been creating before moving forward. I would like you all to have a wonderful, wonderful night, a wonderful week. I know that I would see some of you on from tomorrow to continue discussing for this week. And please, please move forward with wisdom. So have a wonderful, wonderful night. See some of you tomorrow. See the rest of you next week, Monday. And when the opportunity comes to practice something new, please practice it. Stop letting it pass you by. Stop. You keep waving the opportunities and they keep coming. So, talk to them a little bit. See what comes. So, guys, have a wonderful, wonderful night. And the Genius Goals question would be posted before 9 p.m. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good
Good night.
night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good
Good
night.
night.